Wake up, Larry Krueger, Damon Bruce, Friday morning. Niners getting ready to board the bird and head to Tampa. It is week 10. Niners off the bye. McCaffrey's going to go. We're going to go right now. It's wake up. Wake up!
Oh, wake up indeed. Friday, November 8th, and it is good to have you here. Hit like and subscribe. We're streaming on both of the channels. From the usual location, we got Levi's Larry. He's down in Santa Clara today, and you've been down there all week, and let's just jump right into it, Larry. We are brought to you by Sam's Chowder House. We're even going to show you the Chowdermobile here in just a second. But the big news, the only news that really matters is Christian McCaffrey seems to be all systems go, Larry Krueger. There could not be a bigger ad that I think any NFL team could have made with the trade, with their highest hopes and expectations. You know, who can come here and really change your season? How about one of the most electric players in the history of the franchise? And it really does sound like Christian McCaffrey. At this point, Larry, we'd be stunned if he didn't play, correct?
Yeah, he's going to go. Shanahan told Tolbert and Copeland yesterday on CanBR that he's looked great in practice and he's going to go. John Lynch confirmed that this morning from Texas, where he's attending the funeral service for Amani Joy, Mooney Ward's 1-year-old, who tragically passed last week. And he called in on the radio this morning for his regular hit and kind of confirmed that, yeah, Christian's look good. Barring any kind of a setback here late in the week, he's going to go. There's been a report in the last day or so that he'll have a significant role. I will say this, Damon, just looking at some of the numbers, the Niners, if you're sitting here going, what does that exactly mean? He's going to go. Well, he's going to play. And it sounds like he's going to play a significant number of snaps. The Niners with Christian McCaffrey, 14-5 in 19 games. They average 29 points a game. They convert 67% in the red zone. The Niners without McCaffrey, 4-4, averaging 26 points a game, so 3 points less. But the big one is the red zone. They go from 67% to 49% conversion rate, from one of the best red zone teams to one of the worst. So he accounted for 40% of their red zone touchdowns last year. So he's a huge factor, and he's back. And we titled this stream, Why a Niner Victory Over the Bucs is So Vital. And here it is, Damon. The Niners' playoff chances, if they win this game on Sunday, are 66%. They got a 66% chance of making the playoffs if they win on Sunday. If they lose on Sunday, that number drops from 66% to 36%. And to make that, to add even more juice to this Sunday morning tilt in Tampa, if Tampa wins this game, they have a 54% chance of making the playoffs. If Tampa loses this game, that 54 drops to 23. So huge game for both teams.
Well, and look, Tampa is, they're trying to get through all this without Chris Godwin. They're not going to see, Mike Evans back in their picture to the end of the month, around Thanksgiving at best, more likely December. They're trying to avoid a 4-game losing streak. You cannot find a more desperate football team in the NFL to get it back on track, and having to do it the hard way, with two of their best players, two of their most impactful players, Godwin and Evans, just not even to be found in the picture. We won't see Godwin until the middle of next year. That injury was so bad, his dislocated ankle, whatever happened, broken ankle, dislocated. What was it, Larry? It doesn't matter. We ain't going to see him no more. And this is two desperate teams. One of the things that will be discussed, all day today on the talk shows, and will be, the many think pieces I'm sure will be created by 49er content creators about, like, okay, so what's the right amount to use Christian McCaffrey, not just in week 1, but throughout the remainder of this season, approaching the playoffs, if that's where you go. What's the best way to get there with a healthy Christian McCaffrey? And, it's hard to put a number on, Larry, because I think it's going to change situationally. It's going to change week to week. And really, And, Gary Radnich, I think, would appreciate this level of measurement. They need to use Christian McCaffrey the Milton Berle way. In other words, every week you got to be willing to whip out enough to win.
Uncle Milty?
Uncle Milty only pulled out enough to win, and that's what the 49ers need to do with Christian McCaffrey. I don't have the number of carries and touches that McCaffrey needs, but I do have the inclination that you better be about 7-2 in your next 9 games. That sounds really good. 7-2. They got 9 games left, Larry. 7-2, you're home free. You're a playoff team with 1, if not 2 home playoff games if you go 7-2. You go 6-3, you're probably all right. And 6-3 might even have you winning the NFC West still. You go 5-4, well, now you are very much in a little position of peril. It doesn't mean you're done, but it doesn't mean that you have done anything but sneak past a bad division if you are at the top of it. And, the Niners are looking at 9 wins. I could see how the Cardinals or Rams could conceivably be looking at 10 at the end of this year. So, this is a team that's got to go 7-2, 6-3 the rest of the year. They are out of wiggle room. They are out of games to throw away. And that begins in Tampa because this is coming off of a bye. And a little bit of a bounce, something good and positive to propel the 49ers into what is going to be a tough schedule. Again, at Tampa, home to Seattle. Doable. That sounds like 2 wins to me. After that, you're at Green Bay and at Buffalo, and I'm not making any great predictions about either of those games. Home to the Bears, no clue what the Bears are going to look like 3 weeks, 4 weeks from now. Then you got the Rams, division headache for sure at all times. At Miami, all right, that's a win. That's the one game I'm going to tell you. That's an easy win. Home to Detroit, who knows how the Lions are playing, if they even need that game, if the 49ers need that game. But the Lions are obviously no easy day at the ballpark. And then that Week 18 game against Arizona, Larry, that could be the game that actually decides the NFC West. So this is, if you were wondering where you were in the casino, welcome to the high roller room, everybody. This is it. Every single game comes with massive consequences, like you said. Your playoff chances can explode to better than 60% or dive into a 30% range. That's how big of a fork in the road game this is in Tampa.
Yeah, I mean, it's a gotta have it game. There's no way around it. It's as simple as that. They gotta have this one. This is a totally winnable game. Now, this reminds me an awful lot of last year against Jacksonville. The more I look at this game, the more I want to bet this game. I love the 49ers in this game. Last year, off the bye, they got a brand new player in Chase Young. They were in the morning window in Florida against Jacksonville. They went there and they kicked their Jaguars' ass, and the Jaguars sunk like a stone, and the Niners took off from there. I see the exact same thing happening this week in Tampa. 3 weeks ago, the Buccaneers looked like a house on fire. They had Mike Evans. They had Godwin, not to mention, the other guys, Sterling Shepard, Jalen McMillan.
Right.
They're
Bucky
rolling.
Irving looked like a whole brand new toy to play with and worry about, and he is
great,
still. But
great O-line, and Otten playing his best ball, Baker looking amazing, and it's just everything was going their way. Now here we are a few weeks later. Mike Evans out. Chris Godwin out.
Done.
Jalen McMillan did not practice this week. Sterling Shepard did not practice this week. Baker Mayfield did not practice this week with a toe injury. So,
but
they don't have.
He is expected.
I mean, he's going to go, and Shepard's going to go, I think. But I'm just saying, Baker's not 100%. Sterling Shepard's not 100%. Sterling Shepard's not a great player. He's their best receiver. Otherwise, you're looking at Trey Palmer, who can run, but he's tiny, Raheem Jarrett, and Ryan Miller. I mean, that's just a bunch of guys. They do have a good offensive line and 3 decent running backs, but that offensively, man, this is nothing compared to the team that they were just a month ago. And then on defense, they're bad. I mean, this is a bad defense. There's some big names here. Vita Vea, Kalijah Cansey, Levante David, Yaya Diaby, Antoine Winfield Jr. There's some damn good individual players. The numbers say they're garbage. You can run up and down the field on this team. And the 49ers can. And then you can throw it up and down the field on this team. They get guys like Tyreek Funderburk starting in their secondary. And, so I mean, this is not also this Tampa defense on a short week traveled from Kansas City back home. But they're on a short week. Niners are all coming off the bye. Also, you've got
they played
Kansas
like 70
City
snaps in Tampa.
83.
Ooh,
83 snaps over
right.
40 minutes of field time. So, and I asked Shanahan about that. I said, what can you do to when a team's gassed like that? You can see they played 83 snaps. What can you do to, burn them on that or make them, try to take advantage of that advantage? And he's like, it's kind of tricky because sometimes it doesn't play itself out that way. Just because they're tired on paper doesn't mean they'll play tired. So you kind of have to see how the game goes. But I think if you're the Niners, you got to think, if you can possess the ball, this defense is going to fold like a cheap suit in the second half. So I think this is Niners big. I like the 49ers to win this game. Like 31-13, 31-10, something like that.
Yeah, right. So I've got an overconfident feeling about this one, too. I love the Niners to win the game. I like the Niners to cover. There's a lot of reasons. I mean, they're adding Christian McCaffrey to what's already the NFL's second best rushing attack. I know that the numbers don't bear out, nor do the reputations necessarily say, Kyle Shanahan off a bye week is about as big of a problem as Andy Reid is. It's not quite that, but Kyle off of a bye week is very, very good. And I just feel like this team, probably used the bye week the right way to just say, all right, everybody, we're all done with whatever the hell that is. And football season officially begins here and now. And I do think that the Niners are a hell of a refocus in the second half operation. As a matter of fact, the numbers bear that out, Larry. Listen to this. The Niners, since 2021, truly are the NFL's premier second half football team. It's not my opinion. It's a fact. The 49ers are an NFL best 23-4 in the second half of seasons since 2021.
Yeah.
So, that's by the way, second half of seasons is defined as weeks 10 through 18. So weeks 10 through 18 for the past 4 years, the 49ers are 23-4. That's
historical, though. That's not this year. So it's like, that's the question. You're right. On one hand, history tells us the Niners are about to go off and go on a run, but are they? That's the question. We know the trend. The trend says Kyle Shanahan's teams ball out in the second half. Kyle Shanahan's teams play big after the bye. Kyle Shanahan's teams circle the wagon and get it rolling in November. I don't know if you saw their record, but their record, this was actually pretty amazing. I'll see if I have it here for you. Their record in, here it is. This is pretty amazing, Damon. Over the last 4 years, Niners in September and October, 16-15, and the turnover differential was -1. Over the last 4 years, in between November and January, the 49ers are 23-5, and the turnover differential is +24. So they get a ton of turnovers in the second half of the year recently and roll to, big, win totals. That's the historical trend. But this team has McCaffrey on the double Achilles watch, no Aiyuk. Debo has not had a monster year. Pearsall has been, has not established himself as a first round pick yet. You know what I'm saying? So it's not that are they going to go on this run? I mean, history says they're going to go on a run, but then the question is, are they?
So I think that they've been handed the tool that will allow them to carve out the best version of themselves here in the second half. Christian McCaffrey is, just a centerpiece type of player. He changes the way not just your running game runs, but the way your entire offense functions. One of the favorite sayings that we keep leaning on, as Kyle Shanahan explains his game day goals, he's always, Larry, looking for the conflict defender, right? I think that Christian McCaffrey is the microscope that allows you to find the conflict defender easier than when you don't have him. He is the guy that either as the primary ball carrier, as the razzle-dazzle, as the decoy, is just so many eyes and so much attention needs to be paid to him. I think that Brock Purdy is going to have an easier time seeing the matrix with pre-snap motion that McCaffrey is a part of, that now Debo is not just, it's fake or funny. There could really be something there. I just think it makes the 49ers identify where the ball is going before it even goes, because McCaffrey, again, he's a truth serum. You can't lie defensively against Christian McCaffrey. You have to have, an entire amount of focus on him. And that's just going to open up everything. The separation that receivers weren't getting. Kittle, Debo, Ricky. I think it's going to be easier to happen. It won't be like 3 years ago, everybody's young again, easy, but it's going to get easier. So I think that this is we are now going to meet the San Francisco 49ers, the team that we've been hanging out with for the first 8 weeks of this year. It's really not them. I think we're now going to see what they are.
It's going to be an interesting matchup on Sunday, too, to see, one, how much do the Niners utilize Christian? And then, two, Tampa's numbers defensively show that they struggle against the pass, but the Niners don't have Aiyuk, and they do have a three-headed running back monster that looks really, really promising, and a much better run-blocking offensive line. Now here comes Tampa, and just looking at some of Tampa's numbers, Damon, Tampa ranks a dismal 29th in overall defensive rushing efficiency. But they've also allowed 50
because of how good Veta is, right? Vita Vea is just like, that guy is one of the longest days in the office an interior offensive lineman can have in the NFL. He is
huge. He's a Coke machine. He's a gigantic Coke machine. Yeah. It's like he's 6'5", 6'6", and he's like 350 pounds.
Right.
And it's like natural. But even with Vita Vea, they were 29th in overall defensive rushing efficiency. But they've also allowed 55 receptions to running backs. That's the second most in the league, behind only the Buffalo Bills. So you got Aiyuk done for the year. And you got a bunch of receivers, Juwan Jennings and Debo, that are banged up. And you've got McCaffrey now, who could be, even though it's just week one for him, he could be on the verge of a big fantasy day, because, I could see them throwing him the ball out of the backfield as a major part of their game plan in this game. The other thing I think is kind of interesting, this guy's the NFL defensive or offensive player of the year. And now he's going up against Todd Bowles' defense, and they've emphasized stopping the run. They've ranked in the top 3 in loaded box rate in 4 straight seasons. Damon, they load the box 56.4% of the time this year. And yet it hasn't really had a positive result. They've allowed 4.6 yards per carry, which is 5th highest in the league, and a plus 98 rushing yards over expected, which is 2nd when loading the box. So I think it's going to be interesting. When you ask, well, how do the Niners stack up against stack boxes? Stack boxes, 8+ defenders in the box. Niners have faced loaded boxes 53.6% of their plays this year. That's the 2nd highest rate in the NFL for the entire year. And on those plays, the Niners trail only the Ravens in yards per carry. They average 5.2 yards per carry. And they only trail the Ravens in rushing yards over expected, plus 161. So now you throw in McCaffrey, who averaged 5.4 yards per carry last season, despite facing a light box on just 19% of his carries, the lowest rate in the league. So I don't know. This is going to be really interesting. This is going to be a really interesting game to see how much the Niners use McCaffrey. What's the impact of McCaffrey on how the Bucs defense defends the 49ers, and who that may, if McCaffrey draws extra defenders, Damon,
right. Who's springs?
That's going to open it up for somebody. Right. Who's that somebody?
Who has the big bounce game if the attention on McCaffrey opens up the football field? That's where, this is the conflict defender being identified and found easier, play in, play out by Kyle Shanahan. I really do believe, I'm not trying to get arrogant. I don't think the 49ers have played enough good football for anyone to be arrogant, but I really do think that this is a game that they're going to go on the road and they're going to find a win. And the only way they're going to find the loss column is if they help the Tampa Bay Buccaneers beat them with turnovers, with sloppy play, with bad penalties that keep you off schedule. If the Niners remain on schedule, they win this game. I think they cover this game. I really do. It's set up for them. It really is. We'll talk about how good Baker Mayfield has been. We'll talk about some of the, wasn't expecting that guy to beat you, but he might be able to elements of this Tampa Bay offense. But it's great to have you here. Again, I'm in the usual spot. Larry is down at Levi Stadium, which means Larry is closer, not to the NFL team that we're talking about, but to Sam's Chowder House. Now, not everyone can go to Half Moon Bay to get to Sam's Chowder House, which means you need to be, look at it. I hope you can make it there. I hope you can make it there. Look at it.
We'll show the video, then we'll show the mobile.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. If you can't make it to Sam's Chowder House, there is a world where Sam's Chowder House might be able to make it to you. Now, we love it when our viewers, our listeners, Larry, go down and share their day at Sam's with us. As a matter of fact, it wasn't even a few weeks ago. We were getting pictures like this right here. Look at that lobster roll. Look at those chips and a little slaw on the side. Again, this was not set up by some PR company. That's just a serve me a lobster roll. Boom. So that's what it looks like. It is absolutely incredible. You want
this one too. Look at this one, Damon.
Little crab Louie, baby.
Look at that.
There it is.
That looks good.
There it is.
Hard-boiled egg, and you get some good veggies in there, and
that's nice.
Breadsticks. I see some breadsticks sticking out of the corner there. Yeah, that's nice.
I don't know if that's a breadstick. Is it that could be some
up top? Is that carrots? What are those up top?
Could be a little jicama. I don't know, Larry. It's a salad. This is not my level of expertise.
What exactly are those greens?
Right. We had a guy named Ty who was down in Half Moon Bay. He decided to send us his picture from Sam's Chowder House. We appreciate that. And just yesterday on Twitter, Larry, we got
this
tagged.
just in.
We got tagged by Sean Mulholland. And he says, it's always good when Sam's Chowdermobile can come to you. Again, if you cannot make it to Sam's Chowder House, track the Sam's Chowdermobile. It appears in San Francisco, down in San Jose. It appears, in office parks all over the Bay Area. So keep an eye out for the Chowdermobile. And you want to support us? Keep watching these shows. Like and subscribe to both of our channels, please. Thank you so much for supporting our sponsor, Sam's Chowder House, down in Half Moon Bay, or possibly rolling into a parking lot near you soon.
Seriously, that is a good day when you walk in. All of a sudden, you happen to be right there next to the Sam's Chowder House mobile. More and more people are, the brick and mortar restaurant in downtown is getting destroyed by the Chowdermobile. The Chowdermobile is killing. The Chowdermobile is on the road and taking your restaurant and putting it out of business. Because they're parking right in front and saying, "Hey, we're better."
Think about getting involved in a car crash. It wasn't that bad. Nobody's hurt, but just to be safe, they sent an ambulance. But for a fact that everyone's okay. Thank goodness. An ambulance pulls up on one side of the road, but then right after it, the Chowdermobile pulls up, and you're okay. Where are you going first, Larry, after your car crash? Are you going to go to that ambulance, or are you going to go to the Chowdermobile if you know that you're all right? I'm going to the Chowdermobile.
I'm going to the Chowdermobile, and I'm putting my fist down, and I'm saying, Oyster Rockefeller me. My car is fucked. Oyster Rockefeller me, damn it.
Are they doing Oyster Rockefellers out of the Chowdermobile? I don't know.
But that would be awesome.
If they do, we need to find one quickly. We need to start tracking it ourselves. Anyways, thank you.
That would be the most amazing thing if all of a sudden somebody's handing you oysters, baked oysters, like simmering butter and everything, in a natural shell out of a truck on like Howard and 9th or something. It's just amazing. It's a great world. It's a wonderful world that we live in.
You're laying on the side of the road. The EMT that is dealing with you, instead of putting an oxygen mask on your face, just slips a perfectly shucked oyster into your mouth. And you're like, oh, I'm okay. I'm going to be okay. So, yeah.
You come to, you're like, can you hit me with some Tabasco? Yeah, just on the corner.
And that is the sound.
I'm okay.
Yeah. Anyway, look, thank you so much to Sam's for sponsoring us, and you get to Sam's. You'll be very, very happy that you did. This is the 28th all-time meeting between the 49ers and Buccaneers. It has been lopsided to the 49ers' direction. 21 wins, 7 losses all-time to the Buccaneers. This game gets going at 10 a.m. at Raymond James Stadium in Tampa. What, if anything, do you want to say about Todd Bowles and how he affects this game and the coaching matchup between Shanahan and Bowles?
Well, I mean, it's an interesting Tampa defense. I think this is why I love the Niners in this game. I don't know what's to like about this Tampa team. I mean, a few weeks ago, they're cooking offensively. But now Mike Evans is out and Godwin's out. And I'm sorry if I don't shake in my boots at the thought of Cade Otton. I mean, I'm not, Cade Otton doesn't keep me up at night. And their run game is solid, but I don't think it's not like they're going to run up and down the field on the 49er defense. So I don't know. I look at them offensively and I'm thinking, 3 weeks ago, I think this was a scary, scary offense. Now, not so much. And defensively, I give them lots of respect. Vita Vea, Kalijah Cansey, Antoine Winfield, Levante David. But then you look at the numbers, Damon, and their defensive numbers are not good. So they're not a good. This is not the team that beat Philly in the playoffs last year. This doesn't seem like the same kind of Tampa team. I don't know what to say about them on either side of the ball. I mean, I want to respect all opponents, that's for sure. But, defensively, for example, they're 30th in total defense. They're 28th in points allowed. They're 19th against the run, giving up 131 yards per game. But they're 30th against the pass. They're obviously banged up in the secondary. So I mean, it's just they're on defense, they're just not very good. And then offensively, they're 5th in points per game. They're 5th in total offense, 10th rushing, 5th passing. But a lot of those numbers were created with the great Greg Papa's in the house. Look at that. He's flipping me the bird. Greg's in the other room, getting ready probably to board the bird and go with the team to Tampa. But I mean, I look at this Bucs team offensively. They've got good numbers, but it's predicated on an offense that doesn't exist anymore. And the fact that Baker had toe problems this week, and that their best receiver is Sterling Shepard, and he didn't practice Wednesday or Thursday. I like the 49ers big in this game. I think this is the get-right game. I really do.
And, Baker Mayfield, by the way, you walk up to 100 people on the street and you ask them, who's leading the NFL in touchdown passes right now? How many people do you think would answer that correctly? Not many. Baker Mayfield leads the NFL in touchdown passes with 23. He's 2nd in passing yards already with 2,300 plus on the year. He's 7th in passer rating. It has been an incredible redemption story for Baker Mayfield since he's gotten to Tampa Bay. He's really found the home that he didn't find clearly in Cleveland or for the hot minute that he spent, with the Rams. Baker Mayfield has reinvented himself. He's matured. He's gotten an opportunity to prove what he can do when he gets out of that impossible to please level of spotlight that usually comes with the number 1 overall pick. It's really funny. There was nothing Baker Mayfield could have ever done to live up to the number 1 overall expectation. And it feels like at the very end of the draft, even though he is left, I think, all expectations blown out of the water, there's still not enough that Brock Purdy has done to satisfy his critics. So you've got 2 quarterbacks who, are impossible to satisfy the critics of them, both having, all things considered, pretty damn good careers. Baker is good, but he's, again, out there a little bit on his own without his two best wide receiver weapons. Bucky Irving, this is the guy that if your day goes wrong is going to be a huge reason why the day went wrong. Bucky Irving is second in rookie scrimmage yards. He's third in rushing yards. He's logged 50-plus scrimmage yards in 6 of his last 7 games. And when you talk about, what's a play that has left the 49ers defense looking bad almost every time it's run against them, screen passes, screens, tunnel screens, middle screens. And they're going to throw a lot of screens to Bucky Irving. That's what he does. He is good catching the ball in the screen game. So that is something that Todd Bowles is 100% going to be looking to do. Every single, pregame analytic metric that you're meant, okay, what can we do against the 49ers? Screen them. Cade Otton really has become their level of George Kittle. He's a red zone threat, but he gets targeted all over the field, especially now with their wide receivers, being challenged from a depth chart standpoint. So expect an awful lot of Cade Otton, but without an awful lot of Cade Otton or Bucky Irving having a career game like you, Larry. I'm not trying to project overconfidence here, but I just don't see it. Antonio Winfield Jr. had a career high 16 tackles the last time he played the 49ers. But again, the Buccaneers give up an awful lot of, receptions to running backs coming out of the backfield. Well, bad news. It's the wrong week for Christian McCaffrey to show back up in the room if that's your problem. And by the way, McCaffrey, he loves seeing Tampa Bay on the schedule. Christian McCaffrey has more touchdowns against Tampa Bay than he has games played against them. He's got 6 rushing and 4 receiving touchdowns. That's 10 total touchdowns in 9 career games against Tampa Bay. So for the first time, maybe all year, the 49ers are set up from a lot of different ways to look good in a football game. And I really hope that they, use this opportunity to show everyone what a well-rested and getting healthier team really looks like. Again, they're adding one of the 5 best running backs I've ever seen with my own 2 eyes, if he's healthy, to an offense that already has the second best rushing attack in the NFL. That sounds
well. Here's the other thing. I there may have to be kind of this could be an interesting game from the standpoint of Tampa's pass defense is 30th in the league. So the game plan on paper should be attack that, right? That's one of the worst pass defenses in football. And they are 20 or they've got 25 sacks. So they're 8th in the league in sacks. So they can sack the quarterback. So the offensive line will be challenged for sure. But do you come out without Aiyuk and Debo is in the blue jersey all week? And, Juwan Jennings has been out for a couple weeks with a hip injury. Do you come out and try throwing the ball against the 30th, pass defense? Or do you say, let's kind of reinvent ourselves coming out of the bye and let's be the run the ball, stop the run team and just pound the run because you do have McCaffrey, you do have Mason, and you do have Guerendo. And you could run 38 times and give, 15 carries or maybe 15 to 18 carries to Christian and split up the rest with the other 2 guys.
About everybody gets 12 carries. There you go. There's 36 carries. Everyone gets 12. Everyone gets an orange slice at halftime and a Capri Sun.
Well, it's interesting. Matt Barrows thinks that, maybe at first they won't lean on McCaffrey wholeheartedly like they did a year ago, but that eventually they will. I don't think that's a good game plan. I think the better game plan is you have Mason, you have Guerendo, and now you got McCaffrey coming back. You also have Debo. Spread out the workload and don't give McCaffrey a single carry after the game has been decided. Once the game has been decided, finish with the other guys. Finish
Right.
with anybody that's not CMC.
It's Milton
Save
Berle.
him those carries.
Only pull out enough to win, Larry. You don't have to start bragging and showing everyone how much you really got. Just pull out enough to win with Christian McCaffrey. And I want to see Mason and Garendo in between the 30s. And I want Christian McCaffrey with red zone touches, because that's the problem. I mean, he needs to be the balm that solves red zone stalls. That's what you're here to do, Christian. If we had to boil it down, do we need you to churn out yards? Nah, not really. Do we need you to be a huge factor in the passing game now that Brandon Aiyuk is nowhere to be? Nah, not really. Christian McCaffrey needs to be touchdowns. That's what he needs to be. That's it. That's what he needs to be. And if he is that, again, like I said, they need to go at least 6-3 in their final 9. If Christian McCaffrey's a whole bunch of touchdowns in the second half this year, they'll go 6-3 or better. I saw this about Isaac Garendo. What a heck of a month he had in October, Larry. I saw this from Coach Yak on Twitter is where I pulled this from. In the month of October, Isaac Garendo, 30 carries, 208 rushing yards. That's 6.9 yards per. A touchdown, 4 explosive plays. That's 4 rushes of 10 or more yards. He's had 5 forced missed tackles and 2 game-sealing runs, where he sacrificed going in for more points to just kill clock. Now, one of those might have been the right way to do it, and the other one was, but he's getting better. He's getting better. And, I'm coming around on him. I know you were skeptical at first. You're coming around on him. I feel like the 49ers are coming around on the guy, and it'd be silly to identify a player on the come and then use less of him. I mean, I don't care who's back in the room. Isaac Garendo needs his touches. Not just for development.
No doubt. I mean, he's an incredible big play guy. I mean, look at it this way. What did you lose when you lost Aiyuk? And what have you lost without Christian? You've lost your 2 biggest chunk yardage play guys, the guys that can get you the big plays. So they're going to need their young speed, Cowing and Garendo, to contribute, giving them some chunk yardage plays, whether it be as a receiver or as a runner. Those guys have 4.3 speed. You've got to get those sub 4.4 guys out there and utilize them and stretch the field. I think another factor in this game that's going to be huge is the 49ers have 8 more days of rest. I mean, that's rare for the Niners. The Niners have been, it's well documented. Warren Sharp had the article. The Niners have the worst rest situation of any team in pro football.
Right. Almost a
month
in
this particular
rest,
game,
right?
Yeah, they have less rest than every other team in the league, but will have 8 more days of rest in this game. So, not only do the Niners have the advantage of their own bye week, but Tampa's coming off a short week. That game went into overtime and their defense was on the field for 83 plays and over 40 minutes. So this should be a major, major advantage for the 49ers. And I think they're going to come out and take them apart. I think it's going to be, I think we're going to look up and go, whoa, that was impressive. Give you an idea with and without Evans and Godwin, Damon. 7 games with that combo, the Bucs averaged 248 passing yards per game, 18 touchdowns, 7 picks, 4-3 record. In the 2 games they've played without Evans and Godwin,
right? Both
they haven't had either of these guys. They're 0-2, 5 touchdowns, 2 picks, and 259 passing yards per game instead of 248. But instead of 33.4 pass attempts, they're around 40. So they're throwing the ball, but they don't have Evans and Godwin, and it's just not the same thing. They went from 4-3 in those 7 games to 0-2. So it's a small sample size, of course, but they're going to lean a lot on guys like Cade Otton and Sterling Shepard. And come on. I mean, if you can't stop Cade Otton and Sterling Shepard, you're probably not that great of a team.
Right. Then we need to know that, and then we'll just stop talking about the playoffs altogether, right? That will be important information if it's relayed to us too. So I thought this was interesting. This was from our pal Josh Dubow, who always uncovers interesting nuggets that explain players and seasons and whatnot. And let me ask you, Larry, philosophically, can you really miss something that wasn't quite there to begin with? Because I hear you. There's going to be no Brandon Aiyuk for the remainder of this season, and there's going to be no Brandon Aiyuk basically for most of next year either, right? So Brandon is sort of out of the picture. Well, since the whole holdout, he was never really back in the picture. And this isn't, this isn't good for the 49ers, but let me just paint a picture where less of this version of Brandon Aiyuk is actually better for the 49ers. What is the one thing about Brock Purdy's first half that a lot of people said, geez, I wish you would return to more efficiency, return to play action, become more efficient again. Brock's superstar quarterbacking strength is how quickly he processes everything and how efficiently he distributes the ball. A little bit more aggressive version of Brock this year has meant less efficiency. Well, an awful lot of Brandon Aiyuk was the biggest reason why Brock was so inefficient in this first half. Josh Dubow has this. The single best passer rating in the NFL from a quarterback to a singular target with at least 40 attempts is Jared Goff to Amon-Ra St. Brown. Jared Goff has a 133.3 passer rating any single time he throws to Amon-Ra St. Brown, which is an efficient a connection as there is in the NFL. It's the most efficient connection in the NFL. The least efficient connection in the NFL so far this year for a target of 40 or more attempts was Brock Purdy to Brandon Aiyuk. Brock Purdy saw his passer rating dive to 61.4 on all passes to Brandon Aiyuk. Again, there's the player you want Brandon Aiyuk to be, but then there was the player that he actually was for the 49ers this year. And I don't think it is an exaggeration to say, but for one afternoon, Brandon Aiyuk was demonstratively, he was horrible. I mean, he wasn't just less than Brandon Aiyuk. He was awful. He was awful. So removing the player who's just at a point in his career where he is awful and then replacing him with still yet to prove himself Ricky Pearsall, or everybody just wants to see more of him, Juwan Jennings, I don't think it's a bad thing, Larry. Brandon Aiyuk off the field makes the 49ers a better football team in this football season. Not in our memories, but in this football season, I think it's less is more from a get rid of Brandon Aiyuk. So
he's a difference maker though, dude.
But come on. But the difference that he's made this year has been negative to the Niners. He hasn't made a positive difference.
That's just production. That's just production. If you watch the all 22, you still see the defense leaning towards him. JJ was open earlier this year, had a huge day. Everybody was patting him on the back. It was largely because you had Aiyuk drawing attention away. I mean, he is a gravitational force. I mean, it's like it's not Steph Curry, but he is the guy that they're worried about. They're not really worried about Ronnie Bell. They're not worried about Debo. They're not worried about any of these guys. That's why the speed has to take effect. That's why Cowing and Garendo have to give them the chunk yardage plays. Because, I mean, think about it. The Niners drop back to pass. They've got Debo. Let's just say it's a 3 wide receiver formation. They got Debo and they've got JJ and they've got Aiyuk. Well, who's going to run the deep route? It's going to be Aiyuk. So without Aiyuk, they got to have some presence down the field, or teams are going to defend them a lot differently. You really noticed it when you watched the all 22 with him and without him. Without him, it's just, there's not as much room. They don't honor the deep ball, and it's going to be more like that if the Niners can't, complete some balls down the field to somebody. So somebody's going to have to replace him. That was my frustration that they didn't get a receiver.
Theoretically, I agree with you completely. But in actual practice of this year, Brandon Aiyuk was a theory more than he was a help. You can say,
See, I disagree because you're only looking at the production. You're not looking at the actual film. If you watch the actual film, he drew the attention that he always drew. And if not, and maybe even more so to some degree. It's just, he himself wasn't at the same level that he was last year at this time. But just because he hadn't, you think about it, he held out and then needed to ramp up. So it was kind of like a given, I thought, that he was not going to have a spectacularally productive first part of the year. That's what hurts so bad. Is
right,
that
but did you think
he was supposed to be the big guy now? And
did you think
forward.
he was going to descend all the way to least productive in the NFL, though? Like, that's a cliff that I don't think anyone saw him falling off of.
Well, first of all, you have other weapons here. So if you're not on your game, they have other guys they can go to. But he still was Aiyuk. He just was a little bit out of shape and a little bit rusty. And now, obviously, they don't have him. So that's the deep ball guy. So that somehow Cowing is going to have to step up. Maybe Chris Conley. Here's the other thing. Looking at the injury report for this week from yesterday, Conley has got a hamstring, didn't practice yesterday. So that's one. And then CMC was limited yesterday. But without Conley, you got to have Cowing. It puts a lot of pressure on Cowing because, look at this. Ronnie Bell's not your deep guy. JJ's not your deep guy. You only have so many receivers. So it's going to have to be Jacob Cowing. He does separate down the field, but it literally is go time for Cowing and Pearsall. These guys are not going to be afforded. At the beginning of the year, it was like, oh, yeah, they got these two rookies. Oh, but they're just behind these other guys. Now Aiyuk has moved, is out for the year, and Debo's in the blue jersey all week. And the Niners need Cowing and Pearsall to produce in the second half, or they're not going to go on a second half run.
I agree. It's going to be all hands on deck, and it's going to be stay healthy the rest of the way. The Niners are on the tightrope now officially. They can't slip off. There's really no direction left for them to put it back together. So it's go time. Here it is. All out of mulligans. I don't know if they have enough depth to absorb one more real crucial injury along the way. So, they painted themselves into the corner where shit's got to kind of be perfect from here on out for this to go where people think it might. And that's the universe they created for themselves. So we'll see if they're big boys enough to get out of it. Again, historically, getting out of problems in the second half is what the Niners have done under Kyle Shanahan. Again, they're an NFL best 23-4 in the second half of seasons since 2021. That's weeks 10 through 18. Their records since 2021 are 23-4 in the second half of the season. I'll tell you this, though, Larry, if Brandon Aiyuk is worth $30 million, what is Jamar Chase worth? 40? Good God. What? Here's what we do know about last night. Here's what we know about week 10. If you played anyone who handcuffed Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase in fantasy football, you don't even need to open your computer this weekend. You've lost. You have lost your game. And that's even if you had Lamar last night. Lamar was amazing last night. He threw for 197 yards and 3 touchdowns in the fourth quarter alone. Burrow threw for 428, 4 touchdowns. Jamar Chase, 11 catches, 3 touchdowns, 264 receiving yards. He is hauling in bombs. He's twice awesome in the game.
He's the best, man. I think he's the best. Other people say Jefferson, but I think this guy's the best.
If I were Jamar Chase's agent, I would tell the Cincinnati Bengals, that's it. My boy's sitting the rest of the way. Everything you need to know about this guy, he just put on film once again for you. New contract before another snap of football. My guy's not touching the field again for the rest of the year without a new contract.
How about the contrast, though, in the two defenses last night? Joe Burrow sacked not at all, hit, or I should say Lamar Jackson sacked not at all, hit once. Joe Burrow sacked 3 times, hit 13 times.
Face masked
13
twice
times
with no flags. Face masked twice, including the crucial, they're trying to win it right here, 2-point conversion attempt at the end of the game, which, obviously in hindsight didn't work out. I still respect it. Bengals are trying to turn the season around with a dramatic play. But look, the Bengals, they got a lot of talent, but they're 1-5 in one-score games. The only other team that can make that claim in the NFL is the Jaguars, who are also 1-5 in one-score games. And that brings us to the other note that we have to share with you here in Week 10. Other than if you played Jamar Chase last night, you've already lost your fantasy week. Mac Jones is likely to start for the Jaguars this weekend, Larry. Trevor Lawrence has got a shoulder. He's going to miss the Vikings game due to all indications. That means Mac Jones is going to get his first NFL start with the Jags and his first start in over a year since leaving New England. So
what if he outperforms him? What if he outplays Trevor Lawrence?
Then the Jaguars have an awful lot of looking in the mirror to do. I think Trevor Lawrence is painfully overrated and overvalued. He's also pretty damn good.
He's terrible. Yeah,
Trevor Lawrence on another team would be a badass, I bet. But in Jacksonville, he's going to be in a lot of trouble.
Yeah, he's not good. I think Mac Jones is going to play well in that game. I actually think Jacksonville's going to hang in that game. By the way, last night I went with a money line parlay and I threw the Ravens in, and I turned it off last night thinking I'd lost. I'm just like, oh, this thing's done. I'll say this about the Bengals.
You turned that game off?
Dude, I turned it off. Well, I was at last night I was at my kid's final freshman game. They went 10-0 on the season.
Very nice.
Unbelievable. They routed whatever team they played by 60 last night. But how about this? Cincinnati, this game was 7-0 Bengals at the end of the first quarter. It was 14-7 Bengals at halftime. It was 21-14 Bengals at the end of the third quarter. And yet Joe Burrow, 56 pass attempts, and they had 16 runs. 16 runs, 56 passes. I mean, where's the balance? Cincinnati had no offensive balance for no apparent reason.
Probably should have paid Joe Mixon.
Unbelievable.
By the way, again, Lamar threw for 197 yards and 3 touchdowns in just the fourth quarter. He's the MVP again. He is fucking incredible. When he's on his game, how do you slow him down? He had a tiptoe up the sidelines last night where he ran backwards 30 yards to gain 8 yards, but he still got away with it. And he's unbelievable when he's on. And that was the game of the year. I mean, the NFL will be hard pressed to deliver a more exciting back and forth, certainly fourth quarter, than what we got on Thursday Night Football last night. That was really, really good football. Let's see. Speaking of really good football, Larry, I've reached, we're in the just empty the bag here portion of the show. Yeah. We'll go to some super chats in just a second. How about this for a stat? You want an interesting NFL stat that has nothing to do with what we're actually talking about, but it's just interesting?
Yeah, what do you got?
Here it is. So the Chiefs, the Kansas City Chiefs, have allowed fewer than 28 points in 29 straight games. That includes the postseason. The only team with a longer streak this millennium are the Eagles from 2000 through 2002, when they went 34 straight games without giving up more than 28 points. Well, Andy Reid was the head coach of that Eagles team, and Steve Spagnuolo was a defensive assistant. And now Andy Reid and Steve Spagnuolo are in Kansas City. And again, it's equal parts, totally kind of an unimpressive year from the Kansas City Chiefs, but that just shows you the grade that the curve that we're grading them on. They're undefeated, and yet somehow people are still like, they could be better. And
what their over-under in Vegas is if you want to bet it right now?
Right now for the Chiefs, is it 14? It's got to be 14.
14 and a half.
Yeah.
14 and a half. The Niners, by the way, over under at the beginning of the year was 11 and a half. It's now 9 and a half. What do you think? I'd go under. I don't think they're going to win. They're going to win 10. I don't think they're going to win 10.
The Niners?
No, I mean, 6 wins in the second half.
Yeah, I think 6-3 is doable. How about this? If you want to go to the Super Bowl, you better be a 6-3 team over your next 9. I don't care what the schedule looks like.
All you got to really do is outrun your division. Okay? I mean, their only way into the playoffs really is going to be to outrun this division. And I don't know if it's going to take 10 wins to outrun the division.
It felt like a throwaway game the minute you saw it on the schedule. Week 18 against Arizona could be the difference between you've won the division and you're hosting a playoff game to you missed the playoffs, because the wild card's probably not coming out of the West, right?
No, it's definitely not.
So you better win your division. And that could be a division game, week 18 against Arizona. Let's see what Arizona does. I was on with Brad Graham yesterday, and I asked him, you are not allowed to bet the Niners. Niners are off the board. We're not taking any bets on the Niners. You got to bet one of the 3 remaining teams in the NFC West to win the West. Who are you betting? I'm taking Arizona. I think Arizona is the best between Arizona, Los Angeles, and Seattle. Do you?
I don't know. I mean, they're the worst organization. They may have the best talent. They made the deal to get Baron Browning. I think that was good. I like their coaching staff quite a bit, but I don't know. I think I'd probably lean more with the Rams just because of Stafford. I have more belief in Stafford and Kupp and the Rams' weapons. Also, quietly, the Rams have done a really nice job of kind of, holding everything together as this season had gotten away from them. I just saw today Steve Avila, their awesome guard, is now coming back. So they've got some guys kind of working their way back. And then defensively, I mean, just last week alone, I mean, the Rams, Les Snead is a terrific GM. He really is. Last week, they got a 102-yard return from Cam Kinchins, the rookie safety from Miami. Jared Verse is one of the best outside rush guys in all of the NFL. He's incredibly strong. He's he's probably the defensive rookie of the year. And then Braden Fisk is playing great too. So, and then last year in the draft, they got Kobe Turner and Byron Young. So, in literally in 2 drafts, they've found a way to lose the greatest defensive tackle we've seen in years, and Aaron Donald, and kind of pick up and keep going. I mean, Jared Verse and Byron Young off the edges, Kobe Turner, Bobby Brown, Braden Fisk inside. I mean, it's not the greatest defense on the back end. That's a pretty good front line. And Fisk and Turner and Verse, I mean, all picks on your front 7 that come of age in the last 2 years. I mean, really good players. So Snead's a good GM. I'll lean towards the Rams.
I think you got an argument either way. Again, Kyler right now has officially looked like this is his I'm figuring it out for real year this year. And I think James Conner is the most underrated player maybe in the NFL. So
he's really good.
He's really good. So we'll see what happens. And again, they got a new coach who I think is doing a good job fumigating what are normally Arizona Cardinal level mistakes. And we'll see. They're not beating themselves anymore. And that is already an improved Arizona team, because there's no team in football, outside of the Raiders, who likes to step on its own dick as much as the Cardinals have historically over the years.
It's a bad organization, but
right.
The Cardinals did, get better at the trade deadline, and they are playing better ball. I mean, you've got James Conner running the ball. You got Kyler Murray, Trey McBride's a really good player. Marvin Harrison, Michael Wilson, and then, defensively, it's not a great front for sure, but they did add Baron Browning. They didn't wind up trading Budda Baker. So, I mean, I don't know. I mean, Cardinals are kind of a week-to-week team. Some weeks they look awesome. Other weeks they just look like they quit.
So, Larry, I know we got some super chats ready to go. Let me just give you one more thing, and then we'll hop into the super chats, and that's how we'll wrap up today's show. Even though Kevin said don't save them to the end, we're going to save them to the end today. We don't have many of them. I hear Greg Papa. I hear Greg Papa's voice. Let's get him on the show. I mean, if he's going to be on the show, let's get him
He's
on
in the
show.
other room. I just turned down the monitor because
okay.
we're in the. I'm in the control room across
the control room
downstairs.
Okay, so look at it this way. Let's say it all goes wrong. Everything happens that shouldn't happen between now and the end of the year, and the Niners have missed the postseason. There's going to be a big post-mortem. Everyone's going to do the autopsy. Where did it all go wrong? What are the pieces? What are the reasons why the Super Bowl window shut officially this year? I think that both of us are on the same page that the Javon Hargrave move alone has been destructive. The amount of players that needed to be sent packing that were complementary players on this defense, and they have not replaced those guys, and Hargrave was never a world beater, and now he's unavailable. I think we can circle that right away as like in the deconstruction of where it all went wrong for the Niners, the Hargrave deal will have been a big reason why they couldn't keep it together. Number two, the Trey Lance draft pick. I mean, I don't want to return to this conversation. At the same time, though, the Trey Lance cataclysmic mistake at least got the ball rolling that ended up getting you Brock Purdy. And I think any reasonable 49er fan is very happy with Brock Purdy as the quarterback. So, I'm gonna say Hargrave was even more destructive than all those draft picks traded to get a player that then got, flipped to Dallas. Here's something that no one's going to bring up, Larry, but I did last year several times. I remember there were several wake-ups where I would just say, one more note about that game yesterday. Can we appreciate Charlie Woerner? SB Nation had an article about Charlie Woerner being the Atlanta Falcons' secret weapon. And he said, look, it's hard to call someone a secret weapon when he only has 2 catches on the entire year. But the truth is, Woerner is so important because he kicks so much ass in this running game with 11 personnel as the Falcons play, second in 11 personnel rate, only behind the Rams. They've got a tight end who is a difference maker in the running game. He is not a superstar, but all superstars are talking about how Charlie Woerner is allowing them to be a superstar. Apparently, Bijan Robinson will tell you that this guy is his fullback. He loves him. He is often brought in motion as a momentum blocker. He gets full head of steam, and he caves whoever he sees. And this has allowed Atlanta to use motion in the run game to create better angles for Woerner as a blocker. No one talked about Charlie Woerner but me last year. I'm still talking about Charlie Woerner. And if you're wondering where the Niners decided to not really look like themselves anymore, losing a badass run blocking second tight end. Again, I know that nobody's going to bring that up in the bar tonight, but I wanted to bring that up here. I think it's been devastating to have lost the guy.
Well, it would have been devastating if they didn't have Eric Saubert, but Saubert is also very, very strong in the run game. I actually think Saubert might be a little stronger, actually, at the point. Charlie Woerner, though, was just a relentless, is the word I would use, kind of a relentless competitor as a blocker, and he just kept the feet churning. He gives you nothing as a receiver, but he was a hell of a blocker, and he's just dogged in his approach. He just never quit, keep those legs churning, really solid. But you know what? That's the kind of piece that you can't afford when you're paying your quarterback what the Niners are going to pay him. So I got no problem with the fact they moved on from Charlie.
They're not paying him this year. They had the cap space to have had Charlie Woerner a part of this team. Now, I understand he went back home. He's a Georgia kid, and maybe that had an appeal that the Niners just couldn't have matched.
I mean, they couldn't afford him. They just couldn't afford him. And the bottom line is you're blocking tight end. There were blocking tight ends that the Niners really liked in the draft, and they just didn't fall to them. I think Tip Ryman is one of them. Really good blocking tight end and was one of the best blocking tight ends in the draft. I think the Niners were rumored to have some interest in him, and he went a couple picks in front of them, probably in the round they would have considered him. So it's just the way it goes. But you can't. That's the cap. That's why you got to just keep having. You were making a point before the Charlie Woerner, which was that the key issue has been the Hargrave trade. It's the combination of getting rid of your depth in the Hargrave trade and 7 missed number ones. It's not just the ones on Lance. I mean, those hurt too, but there are other number ones that they wasted as well. I mean, they have, if they had gone, I don't know, 3 for 7, they'd be in a lot different spot, but they went 0 for 7. Reuben Foster, bust. Solly Thomas, bust. McGlinchey, Kinlaw, and then Lance, 3 picks on Lance. I mean, once you went 0 for 7 on your, or 2 for 9, let's just say, we'll give you Pearsall, we'll give you Bosa. And Pearsall, we probably shouldn't give you because he hasn't really established himself.
Right. Still don't know.
But we'll give you that one. You go 2 for 9 on number 1 picks. Guess what you can't do? You can't then go all in on 1 free agent. Then all of a sudden you become kind of like the Warriors when they went all in on their stars, got into the finals against Toronto, and they lost despite the fact they had a better roster because Toronto was deeper and healthier, and the Warriors leaned on stars who then got hurt. And then
Toronto had Patrick McCaw at that point, and that was the game changer in that series.
But you know what I'm saying? There's no the Warriors had no depth there, and depth is like the most. I mean, depth is it. Why are the Giants not good? Because they're not deep enough. I'm talking about the baseball Giants. Why the Warriors? The story of the NBA, because they're deeper than they've been. Depth means a ton. Obviously, stars are great, but you got to have depth. You got to have quality depth. And the 49ers, between that Hargrave maneuver and the 7 missed number ones, they've done such a blow to their depth. And now you mix in just kind of a little bit, just an NFL garden variety number of injuries. I won't pretend like they're the most injured. They're just among the teams that are suffering injuries. And suddenly it's overwhelming and too much to overcome. So that's kind of where they're at. And their lack of depth is going to be tested. Now I mentioned it before. Guerrero and Cowing need to step up for the 49ers. Yeah. Sam O and Khalil Davis need to step up for the 49ers. Devondre Campbell and D Winters need to step up for the 49ers. The young DBs, who are all very talented, they all need to step up and play right now. If all these things happen, the Niners could compete and go to the Super Bowl, but it's a lot of ifs.
Yeah. And again, no one is allowed to get hurt the rest of the way because the depth that you're saying hasn't quite gotten the job done or filled the bill yet. It can't be even further tested. I mean, you really do not want a Debo is down and it's seriously like Ronnie Bell's out there for 30, 40 plays. That feels unsustainable to me. Larry, again, we're brought to you by Sam's Chowder House. Make sure you take care of our sponsors by visiting Sam's Chowder House. You'd be very, very happy that you did. Larry, people have taken care of us with some super chats. What have we got?
Well, this one, Sean Turner, I'm not sure how it got in here, but it got started. It says, boots on the ground in Tampa, already hella Niner fans here, another takeover. 49ers are probably the preeminent team on the road. I don't know.
Really play a road.
Who travels better?
No one in the NFL right now. Historically, I would have said Packers, Eagles,
Cowboys
and Bears. Those would be your historical, oh shit, they're here today. I mean, I remember there was a game at Candlestick against the Eagles where it was, I mean, this was bad Niners too. This was Mike Singletary Niners. This was bad. But I've never seen more green at Candlestick than that one game against the Eagles. They absolutely traveled the fuck out of that game. The thing is, not only do the Niners travel great, but nothing pops on television quite like the color red. I mean, the color red just invade. You can be out drawing the Niners to 70-30, but those 30% fans wearing red just pops so much on TV. So it looks like there's a takeover all the time. And I bet you they are Going to be very, very well represented. This is the one. Okay, so you're a Niner fan. You're living on the East Coast. Where are you going to go see them this year? Well, they're coming to the East Coast a couple times. So do you want to go to Buffalo? Shiver your dick off next month? No, thanks. You want to go to Green Bay? Well, if you've already been to Lambeau, it's that Lambeau's awesome. No, we're not going to pretend it's not. Let's go to Florida. It's going to be really nice. It'll be inexpensive as compared to other places. Tampa's a very reasonable travel destination city. This is it's a good road trip game. It's a sneaky good road trip game in the NFL going to Tampa. So, yeah, there'll be a lot of Niner fans there for sure.
I wonder if Eddie D will be there. Eddie D lives in Tampa. It's been a big week for Red, by the way. KR says, keep kicking ass, guys. Love you both. 100.
Thank you very much.
Nathan McFadden in the house says, someone needs to spill coffee on the pass section of Kyle's play sheet if we lead in the second half. Hit cruise control with running back by committee and get the W. Exactly. Seriously. Some guys, Kyle Shanahan, we know his philosophy. He likes offensive balance. But when you're running the ball and you have 3 big-time runners and you're down Aiyuk, and your offensive line's a better run blocking offensive line to begin with, just keep running it. Just keep running the ball.
Yeah. How about this, Kyle? You don't need to audition for anything. You're not filling out any more resumes. You got the job. Now just get the wins. Be aggressive. I've thought one of the worst aspects of Kyle this year is that he's been conservative in moments where he needed to be aggressive, and he's overly aggressive in moments where he's got to get conservative. So hopefully that irons itself out in the second half. Again, front run.
Invader 49ers says Larry has the pulse of the locker room. What you got, Krueger? The locker room's feeling confident. I'll say that they're loose. It's a loose group. They feel good. But they're also coming off a win and coming off a bye and starting to feel good. We'll see if they go to Tampa and smoke the Bucks. They're going to be loose. If they lose that game, it's going to be nut cutting time.
If they lose in Tampa, Larry, it hit the panic button. Absolutely. You can press it if they lose this game. This is a game that they got to win.
No, they got to win. Got to win this game. Joseph Ernberg, cowing won't work. Purdy can't pass 35 yards.
Okay, that's bullshit. That's total nonsense that you just made up to use a trash can emoji. Thanks for the money.
Christian Ayala, second and short play calling by Kyle gives me anxiety. Why should it give you anxiety? You know exactly what it's going to be. It's going to be a handoff to JP Mason. He's going to get stuffed behind the line, and then it's going to be 3rd and goal.
3rd and 4.
Yeah, exactly. 3rd and barely short. 3rd and medium. Nobody can turn 2nd and short into 3rd and medium like the Niners. Fuji Simeon 13. Larry, what is your read on Sorensen after 9 weeks? Does he seem more established and comfortable in his role as a defensive coordinator during question and answers when asking him stuff?
Same stuff. He's still very, measured at the podium. He doesn't want to say anything.
I almost want to give you guys a little flavor of it, but it's just, it's so, it's uninspiring. That's right. That's the word I would use. It's not that it's not offensive. It's not Mike Singletary uttering 19 times, I don't know, I got to watch the film. It's like, yes, we know you have to watch the film.
It's very, his podium game very much reflects the 49ers defensively. If you think about it, Larry, it's not offensive. It's not embarrassing. It's not among the worst in the NFL, but it's also spectacularly unimpressive. It's there. The Niners have a defense. It's average. It's not really above or below. It's there. And that's it. And I feel like that's what Nick Sorensen in. He's there, but this team, there's nothing truly impressive that we can identify and say, well, that's what you build around. This is the strength of this guy's personality, and good teams take on their coaches' personalities. If there is some truth to that, then maybe that's why it's so ho-hum. I don't know. He's not the world's greatest orator. He's not like he's not a fire and brimstone, fire you up kind of a guy. He's just not. Let me see if I can play you one from him. Again, here's the thing. I'm cool with that.
Here's
too.
Sorensen.
You don't need
here's a little Sorensen.
You don't need to be a saber rattler for me to think that you're good at your job, but then you got to produce results while you're just, dull. What do you got?
Yeah, I don't know. Let's see. You judge for yourself. Okay, here it is. Here's a little Sorensen from Kev's Twitter. He's talking about Khalil Davis here. Let's see. There we go. Here we go. Nick Sorensen on the newest Niner, Khalil Davis.
The defensive tackle at the trade deadline. What do you like about Khalil, and kind of where do you see him fitting in that group?
Yeah, where he fits in, we'll see. We still want to see, some more. I think he's just had the one, shorter practice yesterday without pads. So the cool thing is he's an explosive guy. He's twitched up. He's been in our system and he's had production. So we'll just kind of go from there and figure out how he fits. It's always good to add depth to a position like that of a good player.
It's a filibuster answer. It's a non-answer answer. Why did you trade for him? What do you think he's going to give you? Give us some dimensions of his game that you think will fit well next to Nick Bosa or Malik Collins. Like give us some level of detail. That was just, that wasn't a lot.
He covered. Let's just say this in the media, he does a good job of covering the players fully. So you know what I mean. He's never like. Campbell was struggling. I'm like, why Campbell? He's a veteran, and it's like, so he's never gonna be like, hey, we're not pleased here. He's never gonna show you his cards. Okay, that was the Sorensen one from Fuji Simeon. Here we go. This one from Greg Arjazy. He says Walsh always said key to championships, rotate the D-line. Well, you always need more D-line. You always do. I just don't think that Khalil Davis is enough. I mean, they were talking about Davin Godchaux from New England. He's 330 pounds. He's a run stuffer. He would have had a big impact inside. I look at this addition as just kind of a rotational. He's like, okay, so you have Khalil Davis, you have Kevin Givens, and now you got another one. You got, Khalil Davis is a lot like Khalil Davis, who's a lot like Kevin Givens. What I mean by that is, they're not two gappers. They don't anchor against the run. They don't absorb blockers and keep them off of Woerner, Greenlaw, Campbell. They're one gap penetrators who play in a rotation and just shoot gaps. And you heard Sorensen say there, he's twitched up. So they like his movement ability, but he's not the Davin Godchaux, DJ Jones, Evan Anderson, plug the inside.
Other team's center and right guard have this dude in their lap all day long. Yeah, there is no Vita Vea on the Niners right now.
No. They're gonna have to do that in the draft next year. Fuji Simeon says 49ers take advantage of the 13-day rest advantage.
They better.
I think they will. They will. Jason Rahankamp, MCM doesn't have.
I think it's CMC is what he meant.
MCM. Christian McCaffrey doesn't have acute tendonitis. Timelines has been too long. Now it's tendinosis.
I don't know. I don't know anything about that. Here's what it needs to be.
Is not an issue. Jason a doctor? Is it Dr. Rowan Camp? Otherwise, I probably would just say thanks for the $4.99. Yeah. Fuji Simeon, take on the first college football playoff rankings.
Here's my hot take. Let's not even talk about that. Beat Michigan, baby. That's the job this weekend. There is no college football playoff this weekend in Bloomington, but the Michigan Wolverines are there to catch a whooping. So let's go Hoosiers. Let's go.
What's the spread in that game? Let me look for that here. I got the college football. Cal goes tonight, by the way. What is the spread? Because I would like to bet that game. Okay, it's Indiana. Whoa. Oh, Indiana is a 14 and the hook. 14 and a half. Favorites over the Wolverines.
Over Michigan. You want to talk about may you live in interesting times. Holy shit. I saw it open around 12. I thought it was going to be 12. It's gone to 14 and a half. That's America's Wales just pounding the Hoosiers, baby.
I don't like that. I don't know. That's too many points.
By the way,
Do you have
Florida's
thoughts on the
this
rankings,
weekend.
Damon?
Florida, yeah, I can't believe Indiana's in the rankings. Those are my thoughts. What a world we live in. It's incredible. It's incredible. Florida,
I'm excited. I think this is going to be awesome. This is going to be one of the best. This is going to be one of the best things ever.
Georgia Ole Miss this weekend. There's some really good college football games this weekend.
Georgia's defensive front has just 5 guys that all are going to be incredible in the NFL. Jalen Walker, and they just got all kinds of guys. Georgia is one of the most loaded teams I've seen. Let's see. We got this one from Greg Arjazy. He says, fresh D lineman in the fourth quarter. Not sure we're there.
Well, the way the 49ers need to keep their defense fresh is by dominating time of possession with their offense. They need to buy rest.
Ball.
Yeah, they need to buy rest for their thinner than usual defensive line by just possessing the ball offensively. And they're going to do that with running the game. Just run.
Yep, no question about it. One more look at Sam's Chowder House. Once again, get down to the Chowder House, get some chowder, get some incredible seafood. You will not be disappointed.
But the buttery bun, we don't talk enough about the bun that the lobster roll comes on. That's the New England style bun. It's so good. Gets nice and toasty. It's fantastic.
I'm kind of wondering how much cioppino I could actually eat if I really just was like, hey, just keep it coming. Just
if we had a cioppino off, how many bowls? How many?
Yeah, I would say at least 4 bowls of cioppino. Because it's a big bowl, but there's you got a hunt and peck in there, and you get. I mean, seriously, prawns. Come on, scallops. You can pop those things like nothing.
When you start getting that crab, that crab goes. It fills you up fast. It really does.
It's rich.
Yeah, it's very rich. How much butter are we talking here? So
I mean, the lobster roll. You always get the lobster roll. The lobster roll is decadent, rich.
It is.
I mean, it's rich. It's very rich. All right, that's going to do it for us. What do you got cooking the rest of the day? You going on live at 11?
Going to go live at 11, Larry, kind of wrapping up what's been a very interesting week in sports. What a fun weekend I think we have ahead. If you want, some NBA action that's actually got a little oomph to it, boy, do the next 2 Warriors games provide that. You're taking on a Cleveland team this evening, which is trying to start 10-0 for the first time in franchise history. The Warriors have Buddy Hield, who apparently was born to be a Golden State Warrior. They're just playing excellent basketball. And it looks like Steve Kerr has really sold his team on this YMCA everybody plays level rotation. Draymond's locked the fuck in. I mean, it's Trace Jackson Davis is just what you want him to be here in the early going of his sophomore season. I am really intrigued by the Warriors. So I'm interested in watching big game tonight against the Cavaliers. On Sunday, they're in Oklahoma City. These are excellent teams that they're facing. And last time, the Golden State Warriors started 5-0 on the road, which they are right now. They won 73 regular season basketball games.
Wow.
So, it feels like they're back a little bit. How much back? All the way back? I don't know. But right now, the Warriors are cooking. So I'm excited about that. Obviously, I told Jillian, Michigan, Indiana, I'm going to need to be at home at 12:30 West Coast time, honey. I'm not missing Indiana, Michigan. I don't care what you got planned with the kids. I'm watching that. And then we got a really good Sunday night football game, Lions, Texans, Monday night football, Dolphins, Rams. That'll be a division game that the Niners need to keep an eye on. And of course, Larry, I'm going live with another watch party on Sunday morning. We've done one in the late window. We've done one in the Sunday night window. We've never done in like an early game window watch party. So I'm going to be doing that on my channel on Sunday, and we'll see how that goes. And of course, we'll be back with a vengeance on Monday for another wake up. And I hope everyone has a great weekend. Always a pleasure, Krug. Thanks very much, man.
I'm going. I got a big day today. I got Chase Senior at 10:45. So just in about 15 minutes from now, we'll go live with Chase Senior. It's going to be a quick stream though, because Niners actually start practice today at 11:55. So we'll have out at practice today at 11:55.
Was that flight out for them around 3:30 today? Probably 3:30.
Yeah, I think they're going to try to get out early. Kyle will have his presser right around 1. I'll do a KMBR hit with Tolbert and Copeland at 3:50 today, so check me out there. I'll be on Niners Nightly on KMBR tonight, and we have Greg Alman on from Fox to preview the Bucks. And then 7:30 roughly after Warriors Cavs, I'm going post game tonight. So Damon, I don't know if you're going to be around, but I'll be doing a full post game roundtable tonight, right around 7:30, and I'll be shooting invites to all kinds of people. So it should be interesting.
The problem with that on my end is it's a Friday of a big school week, and that's right in kids' Friday night making popcorn, watching Fraggle Rock time. These 4:30 starts are good for me watching the game, but bad for me joining you. I needed them to be in bed to do post-game roundtables. That'll be easier with some West Coast tip times. So I don't know if I'm going to be able to join you there tonight. But
No sweat.
Warriors, they're a lot of fun to watch right now. Very pleasing to the eye. So
they're playing great D. Great D. They're super deep. And you know what? Bring it on. I mean, you bring on the Cavs. It's going to be exciting tonight. That's going to do it for us. That's going to be it. We're going to call it right here, Damon. You know, this is the time where I start to say, you know what? I'm going to watch some film. I want to get away. I want to have a couple beers. I wouldn't mind sitting on that patio. I got to be honest. I wouldn't mind being on the patio.
Look, pack all your dreams in the Miata, put them in the trunk, come on down, and remember, everybody, that angels fly because they take themselves lightly, and so will we on our way to Sam's. Thank you.
We will get there vis-a-vis my Miata.